Good afternoon. My name is Charles I. Halt. I retired from the U.S. Air Force in 1991 as a colonel. During my military career, I was base commander of 2 large installations, and at the time of my retirement, I was in the Department of Defense Inspector General's office with total inspection oversight of all services and all service agencies. In 1980, I was reassigned from the Pentagon to RAF Bentwaters as a deputy base commander. At that time, Bentwaters was one of the largest tactical fighter wings in the world. We had the 2 base complex, Woodbridge and Bentwaters in England, and 4 FOLs in Germany, and 2 additional standby bases. In December 1980, early in the morning, several of our security policemen discovered strange lights in the forest in East Anglia, just outside the back gate of RAF Woodbridge. 3 patrolmen, Sergeant Peniston, Airman Burroughs, and Airman Cabana-Sack, actually were dispatched into the forest and approached a craft. They reported it being triangular, approximately 3 meters on a side, dark metallic in appearance with strange markings. They observed it for a period of time, and it very quickly and silently vanished at high speed. Initially, I was not aware of all the details. I was only told of strange lights, and I was sure there was a logical explanation. 2 nights later, at the family Christmas party, we were interrupted. The on-duty flight commander for the security police squadron, Lieutenant Bruce England, came and approached the base commander and I. He was white as a sheet. He said, "It's back." We said, "What's back?" He said, "The UFO." Well, we still were, I should say, non-believers at that point. Since my boss had to do the presentations, I was tasked, unfortunately, to investigate. So I went home and changed clothes. I really expected to find a logical explanation. I took several security policemen with me, a disaster preparedness NCO who took an APN-27, a Geiger counter, and a camera. I also had my small cassette recorder I carried everywhere when I was on duty. I was taken to the supposed site. We found indentations approximately 1.5 inches deep, approximately 6 to 8 feet on a side, and radiation of 8 to 9 times normal background radiation. Not enough to be dangerous to somebody, but significant. We also found broken branches on the trees. While we were milling around trying to make sense of the whole thing, one of the individuals with me suddenly spotted something. Off through the forest was a bright, glowing object. The best way I can describe it, it looked like an eye. It was bright red with a dark center. It appeared to be winking. It would sort of wink. It was shedding something like molten metal. It was dripping off it. It silently moved through the trees, avoiding any contact. It bobbed up and down, and at one point it actually approached us. We tried to get closer. It receded out into the field, beyond the forest, and silently exploded into 5 white objects. Gone. So we went out into the field looking for any evidence, because something had apparently been falling off it, and we found nothing. But while we were searching around in the field, one of the people with me noticed some objects in the sky to the north. There were 3 or 4 objects in the north, brightly colored, changing from elliptical to round, and moving at very high speed and sharp angular movements as though they were doing a grid search. While we were watching them, somebody else noticed to the south there were 2 objects just sort of hovering in the sky. One object approached us at very high speed, best guess is 3,000 to 5,000 feet, somewhere in that neighborhood, stopped directly overhead and sent down a concentrated beam at our feet. It was about 1 foot in diameter. The best way I can equate it is sort of a laser beam. We stood there in awe. Was this a warning? Was this an attempt to communicate? Was this a weapon or just a probe? Just as suddenly as it appeared, click, it disappeared. We stood there, really concerned. About that time, we noticed the other object to the south was sending down beams, about a mile and a half away over Woodbridge Base. We had 3 different radios with us, the police radio, the security police radio, and I had the command net. All 3 radios were functional, and we were talking to control centers. They were constantly breaking up, and we had great difficulties communicating, but we were able to discern that on the police and security net that some of those beams were either falling into or near the weapons storage area, and there's a great deal of concern. It really bothered me at the time. Every time something of significance happened that night, I kind of clicked on my little tape recorder and recorded it so I'd have a record of it for the next day. Unbeknownst to me, a copy of that was released by one of my co-workers several years later, and hence there was a lot of publicity. My superiors at the time were informed what happened. I briefed my boss. I played the tape for him. He listened intently. He was aware of the incident because he was monitoring the night before on the radio. He and several others were. He took the tape to the 3rd Air Force staff meeting the following Wednesday. 3rd Air Force was the Air Force headquarters at that time in England. Played it for General Baisley, the commander and staff. They all sat silently. The decision was, it happened off the base, so it's a British affair. In other words, they were loath to get involved. So my boss came back and threw me the tape recorder, and I said, well, what do we do, boss? He said, get with Squadron Leader Moreland, who was the British liaison officer, and do a report. It's their problem, not ours. Gosh, here I am kind of caught in the middle, and I'm the junior guy here. Whoa, why did I ever get involved? Well, Squadron Leader Moreland was on vacation in Wales at the time. He came back, and he was quite upset that he was in the middle of the thing, too. So he said, well, write a memo. So I wrote a I shall call it a cleaned up memo, just kind of unexplained lights, just to kind of get them to come out and investigate and look into the thing. Well, I gave it to Moreland. Unbeknownst to me, Moreland sent a copy to his superior at 3rd Air Force. I didn't know that at the time. The copy to MOD was apparently buried in the files. Days turned into weeks and weeks turned into months, and I almost forgot about the incident, to be honest with you. Gave up. Several years later, one of my co-workers was playing a copy of my tape at cocktail parties and caught somebody's ear. Somebody started asking questions, and he said, oh, Holt wrote a memo. The next thing we know, there was a Freedom of Information request came into Bentwaters. Of course, there was no official copy. We didn't have word processors in those days. We used typing manifolds in the old typewriters. We were just transitioning. And the only copy was an onion skin that I had in my desk. So my boss went back and said there's no official record of it. Well, somebody else found out the 3rd Air Force had a copy. Well, Pete Bent, a good personal friend of mine, was the acting 3rd Air Force commander, called me and he said, hey, Chuck, I've got a copy of this memo. We're going to have to release it. I said, please, burn it. Your life and mine will never be the same. You and I don't need this. Well, need I say more? The tape came out, unbeknownst to me. The memo came out, and a lot of publicity. But the events certainly happened. Now, some things have happened since then. I was very innocent at the time and believed what I was told. I asked the OSI if they had an interest, and I was told, oh, no, not at all. Wrong. I found out later that the airmen were, how shall I say, pretty harshly interrogated that were involved. I have never been debriefed. I also found out later that the tower operator, both the tower operators at Bentwaters saw an object and picked it up on their Bright 2 radar and watched it. I found out that the tower operator in the weapons storage area actually saw something, as did a comm man who was working there, and saw it go down into the forest near us. And also several other people around the base saw it. It's kind of interesting. What did we see? I have no idea what we saw that night. I do know it was under intelligent control, and in my personal opinion, it was either from another dimension or extraterrestrial.
150 feet or more from the initial, I should say, suspected impact point. Having a lift car, we can't get the light on to work. Seems to be some kind of mechanical problem. Let's send it back and get another light on. Meantime, we're going to take some readings for the Geiger counter and chase around the air a little bit, waiting for another light on to come back in. That's one of the five number. Okay, we're now approaching area within about 25, 30 feet. What kind of readings are we getting? Anything? Just minor clicks. Minor clicks. What are the impressions? There's one. Is that a little bigger they are? Well, there's one more well designed. Sorry, the security control. We're still getting clicks. Can we read that on a scale? Yes, sir. We're now on the 5/10 scale, and we're reading about third, fourth increment. Okay, we're still comfortably safe here. You don't have a light on, full gas ready? Security. Can you have them? There's still minor readings. The second with gas orientation. Security. This one's good. Let's go to the third one over here. Yes, now I'm getting some residual. I can read now. The meter's definitely giving a little pulse. Okay, so that's what I was going to say. Let's go to the center of the area next and see what kind of reading we get out there. You're reading the clicks. I can't hear the clicks. Yes, sir. Got about the center, Bruce? Okay, let's go to the center. Yes, I'm getting that's the best deflection of the needle I've seen yet. Okay, can you give me an estimation? We're on the 0.5 scale. We're getting... We have a couple readings.
At approximately 01:25 hours.
We're getting right at a half of the middle right now. Last point. I haven't seen it go any higher. Okay, we'll go out toward the...
Now it's picking up.
This is out toward the number one indentation where we first got the strongest reading. Yeah, it's similar to what we got in the center.
It's mainly in the center. Looks like an area here, possibly. It could be a blast. It's in the center.
It's hard to tell. You got to take this. My finger's about to freeze.
Yours too. Up to what, 7?
What?
Just jumped up to 7/10 there.
7/10 right there in the center?
Uh-huh.
We found a small blast, what looks like a blasted or scruffed up area here. We're getting very positive readings. Let's see, is that near the center?
Yes, it is. This is what we would assume would be the dead center.
Just picking up more as we go along the whole area here now. Up to 7/10, or 7 units, let's call it, on the 0.5 scale. Okay, why don't we do this? Why don't we make a sweep? Here, I've got my gloves on now. Let's make a sweep out around the whole area, about 10 foot out, and make a perimeter run around it, starting right back here at the corner. Back at the same first corner where we came in. Let's go right back here. Don't let it depend upon you counting the clicks.
Right.
Okay, let's start. Then I can put the light on it and sweep around it. It would fly. Put it on the ground every once in a while.
This looks like an abrasion on the tree.
Okay, we'll catch that on the way back. Let's go around. One right, hit it there.
And then the interest right over here, it looks like an abrasion pointing into the center.
It is. It may be old, though. There's some scent marks or something on it. Let's go on back around. All right?
So it gives some extension on that.
Yeah, this is an awkward thing to use, isn't it?
Oh, let me see, I can carry it on my ears, but this one broke.
Are we getting anything further? I'm going to shut your quarter off till we find something. Picking up? What are we up to? We're up to 2, 3 units. Deflection. You're getting in close to one pod.
Picking up something. Picking up.
Okay, it's still not going above 3 or 4 units.
Picking up more frequent.
Yes, you're staying steady up around 2 to 3 to 4 units now. Yeah.
Each one of these trees that face into the blast, what we assume is a landing site, all have an abrasion facing in the same direction towards the center.
That's interesting. Well, let's go this way around the circle here. Bring it back down here.
Picking up something in the collection.
Let me see that. That's kind of funny. You're right about the abrasion. I've never seen a tree that's never seen a pine tree that's been damaged react that fast.
I got a bottle to put that in.
Yeah, you got a sample bottle?
Just for the soil.
Can I get some of that? Yeah, here. Stick this on the ground. Okay, from now on, let's identify that as point number 1. That stake there. So you all know where it is if we have to sketch it. You got that set, Nevels?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Closest to the wood bridge base.
Be point 1.
Be point 1. And let's go clockwise from there.
Point two.
Point two? So this tree is between point two.
And two other personnel requesting to rendezvous with you at your location.
Tell them negative at this time. We'll tell them when they can come out here. We don't want them out here right now.
Okay, the sample, you're going to mark this sample number 1.
Yes.
Have them cut it off and include some of that sap and all. Is between indentation 2 and 3 on a pine tree about 5 feet away, about 3.5 feet off the ground.
I've got some more.
There's a round abrasion on the tree about 3.5, 4 inches in diameter. It looks like it might be old, but strange, there's a crystalline pine sap that's come out that fast. You see those other trees here that are damaged in similar fashion?
Yes, all facing in towards the center of the landing site.
Okay, why don't you take a picture of that and remember your picture, and you got to be writing this down. It's going to be on the tape.
Got a tape measure with you?
This is the picture. Your first picture will be at the first tree, the one between Mark 2 and 3. Meantime, I'm going to look at a couple of these trees over here.
We are getting some.
You're getting readings on the tree you're taking samples from on the side facing the suspected landing site.
4 clicks max.
Up to 4. Interesting. That's right where you're taking the sample now. 4. That's the strongest point on the tree?
Yes, sir. If you come to the back, there's no clicks whatsoever.
No clicks at all on the back. It's all on the
Maybe one
side
too.
facing the... Interesting. The indentations look like something twisted as it got, as it sat down on them. Looks like someone took something and sat it down and twisted it from side to side. Very strange. We're looking at the same tree we took the sample off with this, what do you call it, star scope?
Star.
And you're getting a definite heat reflection off the tree about 3 to 4 feet off the ground?
Yes, where the spot is.
Same place where the spot is. We're getting a heat.
And the spot on the tree directly behind us, I picked up the same thing. And the one off to your right.
3 trees in the area, immediately adjacent to the site, within 10 feet of the suspected landing site. We're picking up heat reflection off the trees. What's that again?
Well, shine a light on again, Bob.
Well, you have trouble hitting it? Yeah.
Get right on the spot, and then when you want them
Okay,
to
turn the light on.
you'll notice the white.
Hey. You're right. There's a white streak on the tree.
Indicates
Let me turn around and look at this tree over here now. Just a second. White streak right on the tree. I can see it. Wait a minute. Give me a little side lighting so I can find the tree. Okay. Off. I lost the tree. Okay, stop. Light off. Hey, this is eerie.
what do the hot spots?
This is strange. Here, someone want to look at the spots in the ground? Whoops. What you know? We're walking all over the ground here, sir. Okay, let's step back, not walk all over him. Come back here, somebody put a beam on him. Or you're going to have to be back 10 or 15 feet. You see it?
Okay, fine.
Okay, lights off. What do you think about the spot? Yeah. Let's see at the first spot. Okay, that's what we'd call spot number 3. Let's go to the back corner and get spot number 1. Spot number 1. Here's spot number 1 right here. Spot number 1 right here. You need some light? There it is right there. You focused? Okay. Looking out spot number 1 through the starlight scope.
Take a slight increase in light as I go over.
Slight increase in light at spot number 1. Let's go look at spot number 2. Spot number 2 is right over here. Right here. You see it? Okay, get focused on it. Tell me when. Okay. Lights on. Let's see what we get on it.
Slight increase.
Just a slight increase?
Try to center.
The center spot. Well, it really isn't center. It's slightly off center. It's right there. Okay. I'm going to get your reading on it right there.
Okay.
Tell me when you're ready.
Ready.
Okay, lights out. This is the center spot we're looking at now, almost the center.
Yeah,
Slight increase there. This is slightly off center toward the 1-2 side. It's some type of abrasion or something in the ground where the pine needles are all pushed back, and where we get a high reading, about deflection of 2 to 3, maybe 4, depending on the point on it.
Want to check it?
Yes.
You said there's a positive after effect?
Yes, there is definitely. That's on the center spot. There is an after effect.
What does that mean?
It means when the lights are turned off, once we are focused in and allow time for the eyes to adjust, we are getting an indication of a heat source coming out of that center spot, which will show up on a
Heat or some form of energy. It's hardly heat at this stage of the game. Looking directly overhead, one can see an opening in the trees, plus some freshly broken pine branches on the ground underneath. Looks like some of them came off about 15 to 20 feet up. Some small branches about an inch or less in diameter. 0148, we're hearing very strange sounds out of the farmers' barnyard animals. They're very, very active, making an awful lot of noise.
Yes, and a pigmentation.
You just saw a light where? Wait a minute, slow down. Where?
Right in this position here, straight ahead, in between the tree. There it is again. Watch, straight ahead off my flashlight there, sir. There it is.
Hey, I see it too. What is it?
We don't know, sir.
So can I get some of it?
Yeah, it's a strange, small red light. Looks to be out maybe a quarter to half mile, maybe further out. I'm going to switch off. The light is gone now. It was approximately 120 degrees from the site. Is it back again?
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's the flashlight set. Let's move out to the edge of the clearing so we can get a better look at it. See if you can get the star scope on it. The light's still there, and all the barnyard animals have gotten quiet now. Yeah, we're heading about 110 to 120 degrees from the site out through to the clearing now. Still getting a reading on the meter. About 2 clicks. Meter's jumped 3 to 4 clicks, getting stronger.
Now it's stopped. Now it's coming up. Hold up. There we go. It's about approximately 4 foot off the ground. It's coming to 110 degrees.
All right, just turn the meter off. You gotta say that again. About 4 feet off the ground, about 110 degrees, getting a reading of about 4 clicks.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but
Excuse me. Now it's dying.
no, it's not. I think it's something other than the ground. I think it's something variable here.
Got the tree right over.
We just frightened the first night bird we've seen. We're about 150 or 200 yards from the site. Everything else is just deathly calm. There's no doubt about it. There's some type of strange flashing red light ahead.
It's yellow.
I saw a yellow tinge in it, too. Weird. It appears to be maybe moving a little bit this way. It's brighter than it has been.
Yellow.
It's coming this way. It is definitely coming this way. Pieces of it are shooting off. There is no doubt about it. This is weird.
To the left.
Yeah, definitely moving left.
Two lights.
One
light to the front,
okay.
one light to the left.
Keep the flashlights off. There's something very, very strange. Get the headset on. See if it gets any stronger. Okay. Give us a rundown.
Notation that this is on a beta reading, too.
It's on the beta reading?
Beta
Okay.
shield has been removed.
Okay. Pieces are falling off it again.
But it just moved to the right.
Yeah.
Off to the right.
Strange. Oh, wait, why don't you go to the left? Let's approach to the edge of the woods up there. Can you want to do it without lights? Let's do it carefully. Come on. Okay, we're looking at the thing. We're probably about 200 to 300 yards away. It looks like an eye winking at you. It's still moving from side to side. And when you put the star scope on it, it sort of has a hollow center, or a dark center. It's like the pupil of an eye looking at you and winking. And the flash is so bright to the star scope that it almost burns your eye. We passed the farmer's house and across in the next field. Now we have multiple sightings of up to 5 lights with a similar shape and all, but they seem to be steady now rather than a pulsating or glow with a red flash. We just crossed the creek, and we're getting what kind of readings now? Getting through 3 good clicks on the meter, and we're seeing strange lights in the sky. 244, we're at the far side of the second farmer's field, and made sighting again about 110 degrees. This looks like it's clear out to the coast. It's right on the horizon. Moves about a bit and flashes from time to time. Still steady or red in color. Also, after negative readings in the cellular field, we're picking up slight readings, 4 or 5 clicks now on the meter. 305. We see strange strobe-like flashes to the rather sporadic, but there's definitely something, some kind of phenomenon. 305 at about 10 degrees horizon directly north. We've got 2 strange objects, half-moon shape, dancing about with colored lights on them. But guessed to be about 5 to 10 miles out, maybe less. The half-moons have now turned into full circles. As though there was an eclipse or something there for a minute or two. 0315 now, we've got an object about 10 degrees directly south, 10 degrees off the horizon. And the ones to the north are moving, one's moving away from us. Moving out fast.
This one on the right's heading away, too.
Yeah, we're both heading north. Hey, here he comes from the south. He's coming toward us now. Now we're observing what appears to be a beam coming down to the ground. This is unreal. 330, 0330, and the objects are still in the sky, although the one to the south looks like it's losing a little bit of altitude. We're turning around and heading back toward the base. The object to the south is still beaming down lights to the ground. 0400 hours, one object still hovering over Woodbridge Base at about 5 to 10 degrees off the horizon, still moving erratic and similar lights and beaming down as earlier.
The plan is to go over to England and to get Prometheus Entertainment to pay for it, sponsor it, and they do the Ancient Aliens series.